Hello folks, I've got this car for a very limited amount of time, so I'm going to give you a very super snappy car review on it, giving you as much detail as I can possibly cram into the limited time I've got available. This is the Jaecoo 7 and it's got the super hybrid system. That's a plug-in hybrid by anyone else's standard, but Jaecoo says that this one's really quite clever. What it will actually do is use the battery and the petrol engine to power the wheels, and it flicks between them. There are various different modes. I like to keep it in its sort of smart mode, and it will just do its own thing and always run as efficiently as it possibly can. If you want to go for all electric driving, you can do that. You get 56 miles of all electric range, and Jaecoo says you're going to get well over 700 miles of total range on a full tank of petrol and a full battery. That battery is an 18.3 kilowatt hour battery. 0 to 62 times 8.5 seconds. You've got a top speed of 109 miles an hour, and the daft WLTP figure, which I never understand for plug-in hybrids, like why even have it, is 403 mpg. You can DC charge one of these at 40 kilowatts, but of course most people are going to plug it in at home on a 3-pin or a wall box, and it will adequately fill the battery overnight, so no great drama there. Now, pricing on these, if you go for the standard 1.6 petrol, starts at £30,000, and when you see just how much you get for that 30 grand, it's pretty impressive. Or you can go up to luxury trim for £34,000. If you go for the plug-in hybrid that I've got here, the super hybrid system, that's going to start at about 35 grand, and then you're looking at again about another 3 grand-ish to go up to luxury. And I would strongly suggest you go for luxury, because that gets you things like the 14.8 inch portrait central LCD screen. You've also got an 8-speaker Sony sound system, air purification system, heated steering wheel, heated front seats and outer rear seats. I think you get a lot of car for that extra bit of money, and I think it's worth the upgrade personally. Of course, if you are thinking about getting one of these, you owe it to yourselves to check out the lease deals on them, and today's video is sponsored by leasing.com. Link in the video description for that, and also a QR code is popping up somewhere on your screen, so scan that with your phone if you're watching on the telly. By the way, you may have noticed a striking resemblance to another famous large SUV. What do you think of the design? I think it looks great actually. It's not the most original thing in the world though, is it? But it is a very good looking car. Got that waterfall grille at the front, which is sort of Jaecoo's moniker, I guess. And yeah, despite perhaps having a look over the shoulder of someone else's sketchbook, I think they've done a good job. I've also got a really practical 412 litre boot with a decent amount of underfloor storage. Okay, so front cabin, the first thing to say is it's very spacious. Plenty of headroom in here, nice driving position. In the luxury trim cars, the driver's seat actually comes back as you get out or get into the car, and then when you sort of go in to drive, it will bring the car forward to your memory position, which is a nice touch. You expect something like that on a 7 Series, but perhaps not on a car at this price point. You've got a big central cubby in there, which is ventilated. We have got a few physical buttons here for the various drive modes and that kind of stuff. You've also got a couple of cup holders and a ventilated phone charger. What that means is your phone can charge at a higher rate of knots, and it'll actually stop the phone from overheating. That's good because it can continue to charge for longer, and it's less likely to damage the phone's battery. We've got this gargantuan screen. This is the luxury trim. You do get a bigger screen in this. I think it's 14.5 inches, but it's a massive screen. And for Apple CarPlay, I have to say it's a complete dream. The car's own sat-nav system is fine. There's nothing particularly wrong with it. I must admit, because I've only got this car for a very short period of time, I haven't messed around with it for too long. But in other cars from the group, I have used it a bit more, and I think it's perfectly adequate, but perhaps not one of the absolute best on the market. And then you've got a very simple, easy to follow sort of app-based system for all the major features. They've done a reasonable job with that, I have to say, especially for a new brand to the UK market. Colour driver information display here, which I'll talk more about in the driving section. And then as for materials, not like ridiculously luxurious, but again, for the price point, you're not expecting nice sort of softy, touchy, feely bits, and you're certainly probably not expecting leather seats, heated seats, all this kind of stuff. The equipment levels are very, very generous. We do also have this big panoramic roof in this one, and that does brighten things up. I mean, I'm losing light fast here, folks, and that does brighten things up quite nicely. I'll also point out this rather tasty ambient lighting, which is quite nicely done. I don't think they've done a bad job in here at all. This doesn't feel like an interior of a car that's at this price point. It's impressive. The rear cabin is equally spacious. There is tons of room in here. Don't forget, this driver's seat has come back because I've left the car. So my normal driving position is probably about that much further forward than this seat is at the moment. Yet I've still got that much knee room and that much headroom. There's also plenty of space to put your feet underneath the driver's seat, which is not always a given in a plug-in hybrid because of batteries, etc. We've got a big, comfy, squashy, lovely central armrest, some really nice headrests, and in the luxury trim car, these two outer seats are actually heated in the back. Again, that's not something you expect to see in this class of car. We've got USB-A and a USB-C down there and a single vent. We've also got seat back pockets for your phones and iPads and books and all that kind of stuff. And once again, it sort of feels more impressive than it should. Today's video is sponsored by leasing.com,
which is the leasing comparison site. And we don't just offer lease deals on cars, we offer them on vans and motorbikes too. Isn't that right, Jim?
It is. Leasing.com is the only comparison site that looks at the whole market. That means not just deals from brokers, but also from the funders directly, even from manufacturers directly, and from dealerships. That should mean there are more deals available, and hopefully you're able to get access to more vehicles and lower prices. So whether you're an old pro when it comes to car leasing, or perhaps you always PCP your cars normally, or perhaps you even pay cash, have a look in the link in the video description or scan this QR code and see if car leasing actually could save you a few quid. Thanks to leasing.com for sponsoring today's video. So folks, get the car out onto the road and it feels surprisingly light, and that's because the steering setup at the moment is very, very light. And it just coasts along. We're not sort of feeling big bangs and divots in the road. It is doing a good job of soaking them up, and it's not something that I expected really from a car at this price point, is to be quite as quiet inside and quite as smooth. Yeah, it's quite surprising when you get behind the wheel. Now, you've got this gargantuan screen, and so much of the controls are screen based. Yeah, I know the car's binging and bonging at me. I'm leaving the bings and bongs on, as I always do in my reviews. But so much of the controls are screen based. We do still have proper stalks, unlike in my Tesla. So you can control the wipers and the washers and all that sort of stuff. And you've got some what feel like haptics, but I think they're actually proper buttons on the steering wheel for things like your audio infotainment controls, your heated steering wheel setting, your cruise control, speech, and there is also a custom button, so you can make that sort of shortcut to something else. Also, if you want to quickly access the main aircon controls, you just swipe up from the bottom of the screen and they will appear for you. So not the end of the world, despite a lot of it being screen based. The driver information system is one that I'm fairly familiar with. It's similar in a number of Chinese vehicles, including some BYDs actually. And they've taken certainly a leaf out of Tesla's book with the overall design, I think. Their picture does seem a bit crisper than I've seen on some of the BYD cars, which always feel like they're sort of behind some sort of laminated thing, and I don't know, they don't look particularly good. This one does look good, and it's got all the information you need. I'm not in love though with some of the like light green text over a pale blue background. It could stand out a bit more, I guess, if I'm being really, really picky. So we've got really good ride comfort, and I think that hybrid system also gives you an EV-like sort of acceleration. You know, there's no lag when you first decide to pull away from traffic lights, for example. But the car doesn't make you want to go and throw it around B roads, because at the end of the day, it's still really quite a large SUV. This car will absolutely eat up those long journeys for breakfast, but I don't feel like you're going to want to go and throw it around the Nürburgring. Probably not massively surprising, is it? It's another Chinese car that just feels really good to drive, and obviously the proof of the pudding is how well they age, you know, what the ownership experience is like with them over the long term. But don't forget, it comes with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and you've got roadside assistance cover built into that, which is mightily impressive. And it, to me, like, makes me feel a bit more confident than if they were putting a 3-year warranty on, as a lot of the European manufacturers still do, amazingly. So, I don't know, only time will tell on that front. But in terms of an all-around driving experience, the pedal feels good. I feel like the brake pedal's good. It's not too grabby. It doesn't, at no point do you feel like you have to like stand through the floor to actually get the thing to stop. The only downside for me really is I've left the bings and bongs on in this video, and you know, every manufacturer has them now to get their Euro NCAP 5 stars, but they are particularly annoying in this car, and all that means is I'm more likely to switch them off, which means they're not doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. For example, I think if I creep 1 mile an hour over the speed limit, they start to bing, where some other systems have a little bit more tolerance than that, I feel. Or perhaps I'm just being more heavy-footed than usual, I don't know. So I am more likely to get in and turn them off. But that to me is the only real downside for this car. The price point's phenomenal. Most times it's an absolute joy to drive. I have had like one occasion where the gearbox felt a tiny bit dim-witted, like it was caught in between two possible solutions. But aside from that, it's silky smooth. It's very, very comfortable. And then when you look at the wider car, it's practical, it's spacious, it's well equipped. It's pretty good. Folks, I really haven't had this car for very long, so it's difficult for me to give you a really detailed review and give you a really, really solid recommendation or a steer clear warning. But I have to say, you know, I've done a long journey in this car, and I have spent a little bit of time with it, and I feel like you're shopping at Lidl here, but getting food from Marks and Spencer. It really does feel like you're getting something that should be a lot more expensive than it is. It's very well priced, it's very well spec'd, it's comfortable, you're not lacking for all electric range. And when you compare this to some of its more traditional rivals from some of the OEMs we've known for donkey's years, it's nothing if not impressive. Perhaps not the most original looking thing in the world, but I think a lot of people actually like that about it. This was the biggest selling plug-in hybrid SUV in the UK last month, and I spoke to the UK CEO of Jaecoo recently and asked him about the sales of this car and what the company thought about it. Were they expecting that? And he said no, it's been a really happy accident. They didn't expect to sell as many cars as they have, but they've sold because they put together a really compelling package. You do have that 7-year warranty, 100,000 mile warranty as well. You do get roadside assistance covered with the car. So it looks like they're kind of putting their money where their mouth is a little bit. But how well they age in 5-10 years, who knows? But at the moment, it looks like a car you should probably consider. Of course, if you are considering, do go and check out the sponsors of today's video, leasing.com. Links are down below. Thanks for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Huge thanks to all my channel members for your continued support. I really do appreciate it.